Hello. Welcome to Dish Knows Nothing. I'm Michael Dishnow. Sometimes we'll talk about stuff, and other days we'll talk about things. Some days we're just going to talk about what's on my mind. This is a warning. Thank you for listening. Welcome back. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to season 2 of Dish Knows Nothing. I am so excited. I honestly don't know what to say. I guess, I'll throw it out there. I had a good little break in between seasons here. It was a lot of fun to just take a moment to breathe, reminisce of the previous season, have some time through the holidays with the family, as well as, get ready to get back into this. So I'm ready. I'm ready for season 2. I'm ready for a bunch of stuff to go down. I don't know what's going to go down, but we're ready. If you, right off the bat, because I'm adding another medium of a way to watch the podcast, actually. I'm going to throw it on YouTube. I'm videoing. I'm just going to throw it out there now. I'm not going to really look at the camera. I'm not going to do that. I just, some people were like, hey, maybe record video could be interesting. Another place to throw it out. And I was like, why not? As long as it's easy and it requires the least amount of work possible, I'm down to do it. So that's me. But here we are. Season 2. I am super excited to get into this and kind of see where this season takes us. Hopefully take the feedback from the other season and make it something that's super awesome. Even better than the first. But really, I'm just going to kind of start jumping into it because I got not a lot to go over, but I got enough. That's what I'm hoping it sits at. So, guys, here it is. Pardon me. Wow, it's been a minute. I'm going to say this first. I had so many moments this past month, 5 weeks, whatever it was. I was like, oh, I want a podcast. I'm ready to podcast. I want to podcast about something. But I held it in. And I think it was for the better. For the best, even. Because, here I am now podcasting, and I've got so much more excitement kind of around it, and I got all these awesome things here to talk about this season that I'm going to space out, and that kind of really brings me to some things that I wanted to mention right off the bat to really set expectations of what the podcast season 2 is going to be, because it won't be the same as the first one. The first one was chaotic, and I had zero rules, and I was just rolling with everything. I had long episodes for no reason, and I want to have something better. I have this podcast because I want to learn. I have this podcast because I want to better myself. And I hate that connotation in a sense. I want to do something productive in a way that teaches me and also helps me learn new skills and meet some people, which is, hence the reason I have guests. But sorry. Okay. Yeah. That wouldn't have been this podcast if I didn't do that, I suppose. Sorry, Mom. But, man, it feels so good to be back. And I hope that it feels so good to be listening in a back way. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I wrote a few things down, kind of my housekeeping as I do, because here I am. I want to set some good expectations. If you are watching on the YouTube, and I probably will post it somewhere else, but I made that sweet little video intro. Hopefully it turns out well when I piece it together, because I hate video editing so much. If I could, I would pay someone to do it, even if it's minimal, throwing it together. Just hate doing it. Not my favorite. If this podcast made money, then I would for sure, roll with it, and then pay someone to do it, but I won't. But I have a few things written down. I'm going to start going through them instead of not going through them like I've been doing. And the first one for this podcast, if you have expressed you want to be a guest I'm going to throw this out there because I want a ton of guests. I want to have fun with this podcast, getting to know people, even people I've known for a long time, getting to know them more. But one of the things, and a few of the things, one of the first ones that I wrote down here is kind of the experience of in-person versus online recording. Because I know that I can like call friends, we can like patch in and things like that. And I think there's something different than like being in person than doing it over the phone or a Zoom, whatever you're going to end up doing when it comes to like a podcast. And I think what I learned is one of my favorite parts of this podcast, and honestly why I'm glad it's back, is getting to know people in person. It's a ton of fun to sit on this beautiful plaid couch that I plan to turn into denim entirely, and get to know people. And I have some people that I have in mind for this season, and we're going to see what happens. The next thing, as far as some expectations for this podcast, season 2, length and posting cadence, as I wrote it down. I'm going to try to keep this podcast accessible and palatable for a weekly listener. I'm going to aim for Tuesdays, hopefully releasing every Tuesday at midnight, so on, across platforms. But I want it to be something that is easy to listen to every single week. Like you don't have to listen on Tuesday, of course. But I think the main feedback that I actually got last season, that was like people were behind, and understandably, I had like 3-hour long episodes. You can't possibly imagine someone can like listen to that within like a reasonable amount of time, like within a week, you know? You're busy, you got work, your commute isn't 4 hours long. So like, I'm going to try to keep this at an hour, and however you fit that in, I hope it's better for you, because I think that will be fun, and I think more manageable for me, because when I have guests, they still might be longer recording sessions, but I might have to split them up. I might just make it easier to listen to, and kind of in a better fashion for just workload and the ease of all of it. So excited for that. This is one thing that I know that a lot of people were maybe thinking of, and I got to admit, I kind of think that a lot of people don't know how dogs work, because right as the podcast was ending for season 1, I posted about my dog, and I was like, who thinks that Bentley's saying that he's gonna not go to the bathroom the entire break out of solidarity because it's no longer potty time. And he didn't make it. Yeah, dog's got to go pretty much every day. So he was going to the bathroom the entire time, but he's still a dog, so that's what he does. This is a PSA. Moving on. This is a PSA. I don't know if you guys know, just a few things that are on my mind, I guess, leading to this. I make music. I kind of produce my own stuff. I like to branch out and produce other people's stuff and have some fun with that. Maybe make some money. I don't know. Not a priority right now. But technically, as I've distributed music through various aggregators, you choose a label name, as I do air quotes. You do a label name for what it is. And so, I don't know. I'm not like registered as LLC or anything. I was kind of looking at that because I don't know how serious I have to take that. But I don't think you have to, because it doesn't tell you. You can just release music. And I made the name of the studio a long time ago with my friend Ethan. With my friend Ethan, as we were putting out our first album together under Man of Mars. The record label was called Judio Records, as in Gene Studio. And that leads to this. I need denim. My sister-in-law already told me that she'd reupholster our couch when it comes time. And so all I got to do is get some denim. I'm not asking, I'm not like, oh, here's my address, send me denim unsolicited. But, if I see you on a regular basis, even better, if you got to ship it to me, I'll pay for shipping or something. I don't know. Or if you just want to like send it over to me and you pay for shipping, then, bless up. But I want to make this the Judio. I think I want to roll with that idea, and I think that would be fun. So send me denim. And I don't want to be like super particular, I suppose, but like classic denim, like blue jeans is the way to go for sure. just to keep the studio all on the same page, I think is what I want to do. So denim, please. This is, I think, why this episode will be named what it is named, because I think that you should listen to this episode first, even if you're new to the podcast in any way, shape, or form. This podcast is chaotic. Second season will also be chaotic, but I'm going to try to be more organized in a certain fashion. But a rule of thumb for the first season that stands is that I want the names of the episodes to be what entices people to listen to them. I know that makes a lot of sense. As I say it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense, because that's exactly how the world works. But here's the deal. I don't expect everyone to listen to every single episode. That's perfectly fine. This is a non-topical podcast. You don't have to listen to every single episode to stay up with it, right? If you're a big fan of me and you want to listen to me talk, by all means. Like, I love it. That's fantastic. I think I love to go through this journey and have you be a part of it in that way, as I learn about random things. But if you're looking at season 1 and you're like, oh, what is this episode? Okay, I don't have it up. I should have had it up so I could read some of the names, but I forget them. But ones that we're talking about, like the Post Office 2 or Animals, the Animal Kingdom, as it would be, I hope those ones are what grab you for that reason. And I hope that you can find a topic that sits with you. And if you turn into someone who just listens to every episode, great. But I don't expect it. It's kind of a low pressure type of thing. And, as much as I'd love for this podcast to grow and my so-called studio to grow in a recording fashion of music or podcasts and branch out in a network, I don't know, schemes of grandeur. Okay, I hate that word so much. Grandeur, whatever. I've heard it both ways, literally, and so it is what it is. But listen to the podcast the podcast episodes that interest you. I'm not going to blame you if you skip one, because it is like, I don't want to learn about any of those. I'll admit I post them because I enjoy them. If you are similar to me and you have similar humor, if you got a similar interest in life, you might just like to listen to all of them. So go for it. But really, that's all I had for housekeeping. I know that was a lot, and that's like, feels like the majority of the episode in a sense, because I don't think this is going to be too long of one. But I do have kind of a few things to talk about. But the sponsor of season 2, episode 1, I have to admit that this person won what I have called Wallpaper Thursdays, the first one that came through the season, which is funny. So I do weird things. One of them is Khaki Tuesdays. I just think the whole world should wear khakis on Tuesdays, and I think I'm going to try to make it go forever. I talk about like doing things in seasons, like there's football season, so why not be khaki season, where you wear khakis for like 6 weeks or whatever, every Tuesday. I don't know. I think that's cool. I think there's unity that comes in that too, between people who wear khakis for the same reason, and that reason is nothing. But I do also Wallpaper Thursdays. If you don't know or you don't follow me on Instagram, Wallpaper Thursdays are a thing that I just accept wallpapers, and I post just about all of them. I will admit, this last one, there was only one that I didn't post. It was Skating the Line, is one would be. So, the first sponsor, or the sponsor of this episode, is Alexandra Dishno, my wife. Claim nepotism. I agree. I chose her because she's my wife and she is a sponsor. She rightfully won Wallpaper Thursday by submitting, and actually everyone voted for hers the most. So, it's only fair that she actually did win, but it works out because she's my wife and she actually really does sponsor me for stuff like this. So, Alexandra, you as a sponsor, I cannot wait to see what you're going to buy me. Also, I will never give up unless, the law has to step in. Oops. Stance. Sponsor me, guys. I'd love it. Be crazy. I don't know. Send me a pack of socks each month for free, or a sweater. I'm wearing one right now. It says less ego, more amigo, and I'm all about that, and it's comfortable. So I absolutely love Stance. They are fantastic. Awesome brand in general. Usually some of the coolest people that work there. And I'd love to be sponsored by them somehow, in some way. Also, HelloFresh. I don't know. Send me food. That's cool. Let's see. Maybe I'll tag you guys. I should tag you guys. But without further ado, the first, I need to jot that down. The first song of the day of season 2 and the year. Oh my goodness, guys, I'm sitting here recording and I intentionally waited until it was 2023 to record. This is crazy. This is 2023. This is it. This is the year that it happens. I don't know. Let's just see. But this first song of the day is I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. And mainly because it says, now I'm back. Because I am back, guys. This is it. Season 2. So, I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynor. Go ahead and listen to it. It's a great song. And there it is. Those are all the things that I was going to talk about to start. So, I feel like this is so weird. I feel rusty in a sense, or like I'm so out of practice. Actually, I only have 2 topics written down. Dang, I had to do that to myself. So, actually, I'm going to do this because this I might kind of intend to be like the first episode people watch or listen to. I don't know. Listen to as an introduction to this podcast as a whole. So I want to just do a little introduction of myself, guys. My name is Michael Dishno. A lot of people call me Dishno. A lot of people call me Dish, which is why the podcast is named Dish Knows Nothing. In pursuit of this podcast and all things podcasty and all things learning, I started this podcast mainly because I wanted to learn things. I just threw it out there. Actually, that is like my internal reason, but the external reason that I started this podcast is because one day I bought a new mic and I was like, hey guys, should I start a podcast or record a song? And I kid you not, like everyone said, do a podcast. So I did a podcast because just people asked for it in a sense. And I'm not like, oh, everyone was asking for it. But yeah, people asked for it. And I was like, why not? So here we are. Mom, thanks for listening. I love you. I'm just kidding. I don't really know. Oh, I do have to share that. Okay, I checked like a week ago or actually 2 weeks ago. But guys, I got to give a thank you to anyone who's been listening to the podcast because I looked and I actually had just about over 2,100 listens for the episodes of the first podcast. I didn't check like the minutia of the episodes that like had the most, but 2,100 plus people or listens, I suppose, went through for the podcast season 1. And so guys, that's like super rad. That's way more than I expected because like I expected nothing. I expected 20 plays because I put out 20 episodes. And guys, I'm glad that people enjoy it. I'm glad that people listen to it. I'm glad that people are excited when they come onto my podcast. And so, the podcast has been super rad. It's just something I'm learning about. And there's just topics in here that I'm learning about as we do the podcast. I have still a huge list of things that we are going to talk about and that we'll get into as the season goes on. But I want this to be something that feels like you're a part of even. So I'll throw it out there as I am Dishy Man, as people call me too. Okay, actually, no. No one calls me Dishy Man. That's just like my handle on everything. So I will clarify. If you like the podcast, you don't follow me on Instagram, I would highly recommend it in a sense that there's always extra stuff there for you. Dishy Man with 2 Y's, DISHYYMAN. Follow me on Instagram because I post a lot about similar things for the podcast. I reference a lot of things there. Sometimes I'll do like a random contest that you don't really like win something legally. I have to say that. But street cred, that's what all it's about. So I'll follow you back probably. Like realistically, I probably will. But like, if you follow me because of the podcast, let me know. Because then I'll probably follow you back and we can have that weird parasocial relationship where like we're friends, but we've never met or something like that. And I think that's cool. So, that's me. Reasons I'm starting this podcast are to learn about my friends, learn about friends I've known for a while, learn about new friends. As I have guests on here every few episodes, but it's just to have fun. It's really just a lighthearted. I'll say sometimes lighthearted. I have to admit, as I thought back for just a second there, like last season, we talked about some serious things every now and then, and I learned a lot, like on a deeper level through this podcast and the people I talked to about stuff on this podcast, and even the ones that I talked to myself about the things that we talked about. So if you listened, you were there with me through a lot of that, and I thought it was pretty cool. So you know what? This podcast is a lot of fun. I am just a dude who works at a generic job that allows me to have a podcast and, gives me enough time to make music. Not shameful, not shameless. This is a plug, and I have no shame in it. Came up with a new song today. It is January 1st as I'm recording this. I don't care about that timing wall. It'll be the 3rd that you hear this the earliest, but January 1st. I came up with a new song. I decided that I would release Swimming Pools by Man of Mars today, and it's a super rad song. I hope you go and listen to it. Maybe I'll post the link as I post about the podcast too, just in the reference. But I had a lot of fun with that song. I wrote it with one of my best friends, Ethan, a number of years back. I think it was one of our COVID songs, actually. And bringing that song to life, man, I don't even know, like, it was such an experience. I had so much fun bringing that song to life and turning it into something. And like, I just can't really put it into words, like how that song makes me feel, like hearing it, and like how much I've learned about production of songs and stuff like that. And listening to my songs over the years, like get better as they sound better. I just want to do like self-production for songs. And like, even the one actually that I'm working on right now, that, I mean, if some of you guys have even maybe heard, some of you close people have heard, it's so fun to learn about as a hobby. And, it's a good thing. That's like really what it boils down to. It's a good thing in my life, and I like to do it. So you know what? If you're intrigued enough, go listen to Swimming Pools by Man of Mars. It's not technically the song of the day, but it was one of the ways I wanted to, in a sense, bring the year in. Because for whatever reason, I decided it should come out on January 1st at midnight. No clue why, but I just decided that would be it. And, if just a few folks listen to it, great. What I will say, this is always helpful. On whatever streaming platform you use, just stream it all night. Turn the volume all the way down, turn repeat on, just stream it all night. I'll get fractions of pennies and be great. But yeah, I hope you do listen to it with the audio on and you like it. And let me know what you think. I'm intrigued. It's a good song. We put a lot of thought into the words as we wrote the lyrics, and then I put a lot of thought into the production of it over the last few months. So super fun song there. Check it out. It's very chill, very rainy. If you live in Southern California right now, it's been rainy, and it's a good song for that. I think that's me. Oh, okay. Throwing out facts, right? I'm married. Been married for over 3 years now. 3.5, even one would consider it. And me and my wife, we've been together all together for about 6.5 years then. And you know what? We have a great time. Life is great. My wife is super fantastic. Her name is Alexandra. She sings with me on a lot of songs. She's been on the podcast. She will return for the podcast. Gonna throw that out there, guys. I hope you get excited. But I think that's me. Being married, basic job, podcast, music, friends. I got some good friends. I play D&D. I like to go to Maui to visit my friends the McCooks. I sometimes skate. I will always encourage you not to surf. Don't surf. It's not fun. That's it. If that sounds interesting, I would be surprised, because that's not, that's so basic. I hope that this whole podcast can get you, though. And I hope you find things that are fun and interesting to you as a person. And I'd love to hear about who you are. If I don't know you, hit me up on Instagram. But really, without any further ado, I'd say, okay, I picked one topic for this podcast, and it's one that's actually been on my mind a lot lately, especially with music, especially with writing lyrics, especially as an artist of the musical style. What I wrote down as a topic is, when does inspiration become plagiarism? Because, sorry, I need to get a drink and a breath here. I didn't even have to slurp my tea. It was still delicious. Also, I realize that no one else can see this because this is audio. But if you're watching on YouTube, you just saw my sister got me a cup that says "Keep calm, it's potty time," and on the other end, it has baby Grogu holding the Dish Knows Nothing Season 1 album art. So, it's great. Such a good cup. I'm going to have it every time. But, okay. When does inspiration become plagiarism? This has been something that's been on my mind for just really a hot minute here. And I was thinking over the break, especially of the podcast here, like about it. Like, you know, I listen to things. I listen to people. Like, I look up to Jack Antonoff, the man in Bleachers, who also works with like a ton of other famous people. For one, Taylor Swift, and other folks on their music, like Carly Rae Jepsen, Lana Del Rey, as he's the producer on that stuff. And like, his style and his sound that he puts into stuff is inspiring. And I think that can translate to a lot of different art, definitely. I'm not an academic scholar, but I almost imagine, like, if you're a writer, you can probably be inspired by other writers' works. But I feel like that's a pretty quick, like, plagiarism type of thing. It says, first definition of season 2 right here. Plagiarism. Noun. The practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as your own. Because that'd be easy to be like, I'm going to write this and it's going to be the exact other thing, and I'm going to just pretend it's my idea. Like, I feel like in writing, that's like very clearly something they teach us in school. They're like, plagiarism is bad. Don't do it. Yeah, I get that. In art, or in this instance with music, I feel like there's a weird line there, because I'll listen to songs and I'll be like, oh, I really like this beat. Of course, I can't. I'm sure you could kind of find stuff and you can sample, and I know that there's laws and stuff about samples. I don't know. But like, how much of that beat can I use or even take, in a sense? Like, maybe I'd use different sounds, but I get like the same beats per minute. I get the same like emphasis throughout the beat and like the same pattern. But I just turn it into an entirely different song, different key, all that kind of stuff. Like, but it's for sure inspired by that thing, you know? And I think that's interesting, because for me, I get a lot of inspiration from like music that I look up to, or like I like. And I'm actually, one thing right now I'm working on musically as an artist is listening to more music that I want to make music like. Of course, I think that's important. It fuels ideas, it inspires you. And, you know, I think it helps. It helps you have it fuels the juices, for lack of a better way of saying it. And, you know, I don't know if there's a clear line. Like, I think if I was to experiment and I was like, cool, this song's really good, let me take this beat. Now let me take the key of it. Oh, also the chord progression. I think even then it's like one of those things that like is so ambiguous. Like, it's not like a super clear, like, yes or no, this is what you can and cannot do. I think actually there's a few more things like that you can't, because I'm going to look this up, because I know that I've heard this in some of my music classes over the years, where like people have tried to copyright parts of songs. And I'm going to read this here. Let's learn from support.easysong.com what parts of music can be copyrighted and what can't. This is actually only 7 months ago that they updated this, so hopefully this is completely accurate. 2 parts of a song. It is important to note the distinction between the musical composition and a sound recording. The music composition, which is the intellectual property of the composers who created it or their publishers. It is It is includes aspects like the lyrics, melody, rhythm, and harmony. Then there's the sound recording, which is a physical and digital property of the recording artist and recording label that produced it. Each one is separately protected under copyright. In some cases, you can register both parts together in the same filing. Other times, you must file them separately. And I believe whenever you use like aggregators, who are the companies that like help you put out music when you're someone like me and don't have a record label or like an official record label, a lot of that copywriting happens for you, which is pretty cool. But for those of you who don't know, maybe you know nothing about music, so I'll back it up a little bit. If we look at the musical composition, so that's something like, let's go to what we're maybe more familiar with. Straight up Beethoven. This guy's writing a song for the piano on paper. That is a musical composition, right? He's saying the song is this. He's creating it. Like it says, that's the intellectual property of the composer, the person who actually like said this is the song and what it will sound like. That's what includes the lyrics, the melody, the rhythm, and the harmony, which, to break that down, lyrics are words. What are the words of the song? The melody is the tune of like the main lyrics of the song typically. Even if it doesn't have words, it could be the main tune that like, you know, you find yourself whistling to. The Andy Griffith Show. There is the melody. The rhythm, that's where I think it blends with like, if I steal, I hate that word, but you know, if I steal this drum pattern and I throw like the same chords onto it, is that kind of like what that rhythm would be? And the harmony, that's like kind of, I won't explain it the way that this would probably explain it, but some of the supporting melodies and the supporting instruments built into that. And when you're looking at like Beethoven, it's going to be, you know, essentially the whole situation with him playing with both of his hands rather than like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, like dun 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 dun, you know, like that. Oh yeah, that was a good slurp. Also, I'm going to make note of it now. I did not say that Keisha Randall Jewelry is supporting or sponsoring this episode because she's on vacation, and I respect that. From January 1st to the 14th, and I just saw that. But, you know, she'll be back, and she will be a sponsor because she is I don't know where to point. I looked at the camera. That's going to be weird. But breaking it down again, the sound recording, which is the physical and digital property of the recording artist and recording label that produced it. I think if you keep up with any pop culture, that would be something that has to do with how you say Taylor Swift. If you guys know much about her situation, she's had some trouble with that where although she has, I believe, what would be the music composition and intellectual property ownership of like her songs, because she re-recorded them. She didn't have like the actual sound recordings of her songs under her like copyright in that sense. So, you know, I'd like to be in charge of both. I guess when you get into singer, songwriter, producer vibe, it's a lot under the same umbrella there. But going down here, what can I copyright? Or what exactly can I copyright? The same thing. This is the same list. Why is this doing this to me? Okay. Predicted parts, blah, 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 blah. Arrangement. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of just expanding on what was already said. But yeah, those two things you can kind of copyright actually from a song. So like legally, there are those things, right? I believe I could even like, not I, but if you were to get like the permission of someone with a copyrighted stuff, you can use their musical composition or even potentially their sound recording. I think that's where like samples really come in handy for the sound recording, or, you know, if someone's like writing a song that's really similar to another. I believe Olivia Rodrigo has a song like that from one of Taylor Swift's like piano pieces, and it's really similar, but she does her own thing with that song and it's pretty cool. So copyright. Maybe I ask Ali Rowell, if you guys know her, which probably the majority of you don't. Actually, I'm intrigued to know what majority either knows or don't know Ali Rowell of my listeners. I don't know how I would ever take that poll, but hey, yeah, that's something that's on my mind. Other things though, plagiarism is such like a strong word, right? It's one of those things that's like, you clearly did the thing. And that's why it's like the line between inspiration and plagiarism is like such a wide gray area, because it's like, once you've gotten to plagiarism in a sense, but like as you get closer and closer, I feel like I don't even know. I feel like I'm not making any sense the way that I'm explaining what I'm trying to think. Because I guess you can clearly tell if someone like straight up rips off another person's work, right? Like you can be like, oh, that's clearly it. But I guess like how close, so maybe it's not a gray area. Maybe it's a very fine line that's like, that's plagiarism. And you can get so close to it in the inspirational piece. And then there is that line that's like plagiarism. So it's not a gray area. Maybe it feels gray because it's like, okay, how far can I really go into being inspired by this piece? But I don't know, because I think in my own personal like artistic expression, one of the things is like I was mentioning, I hear a song or I'm like, oh, I really like that beat, or I really like, the sound that they're using, or the feel of this song. And, there's that part where that can inspire me to go write a song that's very similar. And I never would be like, oh, I'm just going to make the exact same song. Like, I'm not going to actually try to make the exact same song. I'm going to find a key that works better for me. I'm going to make my own melody. I'm going to throw my own instruments that really, express who I am as an artist. But, maybe like that drum beat, or like the part of the rhythm, like not the whole rhythm because it's going to change up, but like there's those things that like kick in, and like they're what inspire me to feel like I really want to write a song like that. But I don't want to write a song that is that, I don't want people to be listening to it and be like, oh, that's that song. It's like, maybe it sounds like it's like, oh, I can kind of hear that this person was inspired by that. But honestly, I'd be intrigued to know what other people think. If you have thoughts on this as an artist, as a writer, as whoever, if you are inspired by certain things and you look towards those things for your expression of art, of creativity, whatever it is, I'd like to know, maybe this would help. I want to know how you're inspired by those things and what you do with that inspiration. And maybe together we can kind of like form what is that harsh line of what plagiarism would be, not in a writing sense. Because I think writing, right? Like if I write this and I don't give them credit, boom, there it is. But if it's more of an artistic appeal, like maybe you're an artist and you like to do stuff like Picasso, but how much stuff like Picasso can you do like Picasso before it becomes Picasso without giving him credit, I suppose. But, I'm intrigued. Hit me up. And that's it for that topic, and actually that's it for this first episode. I want it short and sweet. I want people to feel like they get a little bit of a taste of what they're going to get with the season 2 here. I'm, again, so very excited to get this season pumping. I've been looking forward to it for a while now, and I'm so excited. So guys, buckle up, because I don't even know what's going to happen this season. I got some new topics here. I got some new guests in mind. I got things down the line that I'm super, super stoked for to talk about and really dive in and learn about. So, I hope that you guys stick with this podcast. I hope that you guys have a lot of fun listening to it. Please be interactive. It's not at all required, but I love to hear about like you guys listening to the podcast, what you guys thought about some of the things. It's really something that helps me, not necessarily stay motivated, but it's that little sweet treat of like, oh, like, I appreciate that you shared that with me. I'm one of those people who like, I'm really good at getting attention, but I hate getting attention. So like, I'm not going to like ham it up and be like, oh, like, yeah, you're listening to my podcast because it's amazing. But, I do like to hear that you're listening to it for the sake of like the topics, for the sake of the discussion, for the sake of, our relationship growing as friends and stuff like that. So, I'm super excited to see where this goes, and thanks for joining. Thanks for listening, guys. Please, follow me on Instagram, send me questions, all that good stuff. Oh, if you made it this far, would you do me a favor and go rate and review this on like, I don't know, the podcast, whatever you listen to. I don't know if that really has like a huge impact I'm like, I don't know. I'd like to get some ad money from this. I think that'd be cool. Let's see what we can do. I think as this podcast grows very, very slowly, turn it into something. So guys, thanks for listening. Like and rate, and I don't know, can you subscribe to the podcast? I feel like I should definitely know that. I don't though. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a good night, guys. Have a good morning or a good day. Bye-bye. Thanks again for listening to Dish Knows Nothing. Follow me on Instagram at Dishyman or email me at dishyman@gmail.com. Hit me up with topics and questions that I can address on the show. Remember to rate and subscribe. It's truly appreciated. Take care and stay grinding.